3 years ago, Mrs. Chen suffered a myocardial infarction. She recovered, but over the last 8 months, her breathing has steadily deteriorated. Today, at 60 years old, she has to stop for air after climbing a single flight of stairs. The heart attack left behind damaged papillary muscles. These are the internal anchors that keep the mitral valve stable during a heartbeat. Because these anchors are compromised, the valve flaps no longer seal. Every time the heart contracts, blood leaks backward into the lungs instead of moving forward. The one-way door has become a revolving door. Mrs. Chen's echocardiogram shows an ejection fraction of 58%. In a healthy heart, 58% is a normal result. In mitral regurgitation, that same number indicates the ventricle is already failing. Normally, the left ventricle is a high-pressure pump that ejects its entire stroke volume into a single high-resistance pipe, the aorta. In Mrs. Chen's heart, the ventricle ejects into 2 chambers at once. It pushes blood forward into the high-pressure aorta, but also bleeds backward into the low-pressure left atrium. Because the atrium offers less resistance, the ventricle empties easily, artificially inflating the ejection fraction. This hemodynamic math masks the actual weakness of the heart muscle. If we wait for the EF to drop below 50%, the window for successful surgery has often already closed. To treat the leak, we have to determine if the problem is the valve itself or the muscle surrounding it. Primary mitral regurgitation means the valve structure is broken. Causes follow the crime mnemonic: connective tissue disorders, rheumatic fever, mitral valve prolapse, and endocarditis. In secondary MR, the leaflets are normal. The left ventricle dilates, pulling the leaflets apart until they can't meet. This ventricular dilation stretches the mitral ring and pulls the chordae tendineae, the heart's parachute strings, too tight to allow the valve to close. Mrs. Chen's case is secondary. Her previous heart attack killed a section of heart muscle, causing the ventricle to remodel and drag the valve open. This distinction changes the strategy. Primary MR requires a physical fix for the valve. Secondary MR requires treating the underlying ventricular disease first. The backward leak creates 2 problems. First, the left atrium is overwhelmed. This raises pressure in the pulmonary veins, forcing fluid into the lungs, causing shortness of breath. As the atrial walls stretch to accommodate extra blood, electrical pathways disrupt, leading to atrial fibrillation. Second, the left ventricle is forced to work double shifts. It has to pump a full forward stroke volume to the body, plus the extra volume that leaked backward, during every single beat. To handle this workload, the heart muscle grows in a dilated, eccentric pattern. This cycle of dilation and compensation hides the damage for years. The heart keeps pace with the leak until it eventually reaches a point where it can no longer maintain the pressure. An EF of 60% in MR indicates the same failure as 50% in AR. In aortic regurgitation, the ventricle ejects only into the aorta, accurately reflecting strength. In mitral regurgitation, blood escapes easily into the atrium, artificially inflating the EF. To differentiate these on an exam, remember 2 sets of numbers, MR 60-40 and AR 50-50-65.
For mitral regurgitation, surgery is recommended if the EF drops below 60%, or the end systolic dimension, the size of the heart at the end of a beat, exceeds 40 millimeters. If you wait for an MR patient's EF to reach the standard 50% threshold used for other valves, the heart muscle has already sustained permanent damage. We can identify the lesion by listening for the hash pattern. H stands for holosystolic. The murmur fills the entire gap between the first and second heart sounds. S is for a soft S1. Because the valve leaflets don't close firmly, the initial lub of the heartbeat is muffled. A stands for axilla. Most often, the posterior leaflet is the one that fails, which sends a jet of blood toward the patient's left armpit. However, if the anterior leaflet fails, the jet is directed backward. This makes the murmur audible at the left sternal border or the back, where it can be confused with aortic regurgitation. The final H describes the murmur as high-pitched and blowing. Mrs. Chen also has an S3 gallop, which is the sound of blood rushing into an already overfilled ventricle. To confirm the diagnosis at the bedside, we look for changes with afterload. Actions that increase blood pressure, like a sustained hand grip, force more blood through the leak and make the murmur louder.
This differentiates the murmur from a ventricular septal defect, which shares a similar sound but different clinical context. For secondary MR, medications like ACE inhibitors and beta blockers help manage the ventricular dilation, but medical therapy is a bridge, not a substitute for surgery. When surgery is necessary, the goal is always to repair the native valve rather than replace it with a prosthetic. Repairing preserves the papillary muscles and chordae tendineae. These structures act like support beams for the heart's walls. Replacing the valve usually requires cutting these supports. Without them, the ventricle loses its shape and its strength. A replacement also requires the patient to take warfarin for the rest of their life. We operate based on clear markers: severe physical symptoms, an EF below 60%, or a stretched ventricle. A native repair successfully preserves the natural geometry of the ventricle while completely stopping the backward leak and restoring normal forward blood flow. Mrs. Chen's EF of 58% triggered an immediate surgical referral. Because her heart was already beginning to struggle, she was moved to surgery before the damage became permanent. The surgeon repaired her valve. She avoided a mechanical replacement and the need for daily anticoagulants. 6 months later, her shortness of breath is gone. This finishes our valvular series. We've seen Mr. Hassan, whose aortic stenosis was treated with a TAVR procedure. We followed Mrs. Fatima's recovery from mitral stenosis and Mr. James's surgery for aortic regurgitation. Mrs. Chen completes the matrix. These 4 lesions involve 4 different mechanisms. Understanding these mechanisms allows us to choose the correct surgical or medical intervention for each patient. This physiological deduction is what allows cardiology to save lives. Our next series focuses on the electrical heart, the Arrhythmia Chronicles, 20 rhythm strips from atrial fibrillation to ventricular fibrillation. Subscribe to follow the next case.